Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today we're going to continue talking about living dangerously on Hard to Kill. Now, in this program, of course, Hard to Kill involves this guy named Tim Kennedy, and he's the host of the program, and he talks to these different people who are involved in careers that are kind of dangerous. Okay, so last time we introduced you to some of the jobs that Tim checks out. First of all, he was talking to Elliot Seguin. He's a test pilot, and Tim goes up in the plane with Elliot to see exactly what he does with these test planes. He pushes the engines to their limit. He goes into these death spirals from 10,000 feet. And, of course, they need to be really good pilots there to keep that plane flying and to be able to bring it back into a normal flight position once it's fallen from the sky. So we're going to see some other dangerous jobs in today's program as well.
There are lots of them out there, and like Tom mentioned in our last program, a lot of these people are not compensated or paid a lot of money for risking their lives, but they're doing a lot of things to help us have better lives generally. We're going to talk about a lieutenant colonel, who's a military pilot and what he does and how they have a lot of extreme G-force in flight. I love the video of people who are in usually spacecrafts or those planes that are going really fast, and it shows what their face does when that G-force is really strong. It kind of pulls their skin back. It looks so painful. We're going to be talking about how your body reacts to the G-force. It's kind of strange. We're also going to take a look at some bush pilots, people who fly in the wilderness. Bush pilots, when I say those two words, reminds me of Alaska. Immediately, I think of Alaska. You're flying in areas of the world where there aren't a lot of people. There's not a lot of development. You're out there in the wilderness. And we're also going to be talking about some terrain that's kind of scary. Snow-covered mountains, frozen lakes, and what it's like to fly around those places and land in places that don't provide you a nice landing strip like airports give you.
Okay, so we've got a lot to look forward in today's program, so let's get to it, everybody. Let's read the entire contents one time. Later in the episode, Tim meets up with Lieutenant Colonel Greg Moulton. As an experienced military pilot, Greg's going to give Tim the experience of hitting extreme G-force, G, in flight. While the average person would pass out after experiencing 4 to 5 G for just a few seconds, military pilots have to withstand 9 G or more during flight. Therefore, Tim receives training to learn how to control his blood flow before taking off. In flight, Tim successfully fights his body's urge to black out, reaching 7 G before landing. In another episode, Tim is in Alaska's Chugach Mountains. He's there to learn about the treacherous conditions faced by the area's bush pilots. Mark Barker, a bush pilot and firefighter of more than 30 years, takes Tim up in his helicopter, explaining to him about the conditions bush pilots have to deal with in the northern regions and why they do it. The people living and working in such isolated areas depend on these courageous individuals to bring them supplies and carry out rescue operations. From the sky, Tim realizes just how unforgiving the terrain can be. Passing by jagged cliffs, snow-covered mountains, and half-frozen lakes, he learns it's nearly impossible to find a safe landing zone. If a helicopter fails, however, bush pilots must act instantly. They need to land, grab their emergency gear, and alert other pilots to their situation before hypothermia sets in, which can happen in less than a minute in some cases. To see if Tim has what it takes to survive, Mark's going to put him to the test. Will Tim complete Mark's worst-case scenario successfully? Tune in to Discovery Channel's Hard to Kill this November to find out. Okay, everybody, it's time for us to discuss the contents of today's lesson. It's Unit 15, and we're living dangerously on Hard to Kill. Again, this is a program on the Discovery Channel hosted by Tim Kennedy, who's a Green Beret, so he knows a thing or two about living dangerously. And he goes to various places and meets people who do these dangerous jobs. And remember last time he met up with somebody who test flies these stunt planes or something. Well, what's happening in today's program is later in the episode, or at least later in the episode we were talking about before, Tim meets up with Lieutenant Colonel Greg Moulton. Now, if you're in the military, at least in the American military, the Army, and I think the Air Force, you have these different kinds of rankings. You've got lieutenant, captain, major, lieutenant colonel, and then colonel and general. So lieutenant colonel is just below colonel, and colonel, of course, is just below general. So this is a fairly high-ranking soldier. Either in the Army or the Air Force. It doesn't say which branch of the military he's in, but as an experienced military pilot, Greg's going to give Tim the experience of hitting extreme G-force in flight. So this happens, of course, if you're a military pilot. The planes are going really, really fast, so there's lots of force put on your body, and we're talking about measuring that force in terms of G's, or just G, which means the equivalent amount of stress put on your body of the Earth's gravity. So for all of us, we're all experiencing 1 G as we go through our daily lives, okay? The gravity of the Earth is pulling us down to the Earth. That's 1 G. So extreme G's in flight would be more than that, much more than that.
I wanted to mention briefly that G-force is both countable and non-count. So Tom and I were talking about this. We often hear people put S's on G's, like 5 G's, 4 G's. They're both correct, so pick the one you like. We went with the non-count in the article. So while the average person, like me, would pass out after experiencing 4 to 5 G for just a few seconds, military pilots have to be tougher than us, right? They have to withstand 9 G or more during flight. Crazy. That's a lot of gravitational force on someone. If you pass out, you lose consciousness. You can't hear anybody. I passed out one time. I think there was too much gas in a gas station, and I don't know, the fumes, the gas or the smell in the air got to me.
Could happen.
I passed out when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I regained consciousness after about a minute or so, but I did pass out. Well, that gravitational force is really strong, and most people would pass out when they got to 4 or 5 G. And this happens just for a few seconds. I've actually seen this happen in a movie where the pilot passed out because of gravitational force and then immediately, regained consciousness. But it can be quite dangerous. So they train these military pilots to withstand or, endure, get past that G-force of 9 or more while they're flying the planes. It's crazy.
They've got to be trained a special way to do that, and I suppose they've got special machines to train them where they get spun in circles really, really fast. Or they actually go up and fly in these planes.
Astronauts are trained that way, too.
They should be. Those machines can move quite fast. I did want to mention that I have seen some videos on YouTube of people passing out on a ride in the United States in amusement parks.
You're kidding.
I think it's called the slingshot or something like that. And they've got videos of these people, and basically it shoves you up into the air really, really fast. You go straight from the ground up. In this little car, of course.
My dad would love this ride.
I think it's called the slingshot. And these videos show people actually passing out. Either from maybe too many G's, or actually I think it's because they're just too scared. But in any case, pass out, lose consciousness. And these military pilots, of course, need to withstand or endure 9G or more during flight. Therefore, Tim receives training to learn how to control his blood flow before taking off. That's interesting. I'd like to know how you can control your blood flow to make sure it doesn't stay in one place, I guess, so that it keeps moving around your body so that you can keep getting oxygen in your brain so that you don't pass out. I wonder what they do. Maybe that would help the rest of us get a better get a good night's sleep. Yeah, better circulation or to sleep better at night or something like that.
So interesting. I wanted to mention with withstand, we actually use this word a lot in Taiwan because we have earthquakes and typhoons. Buildings typically are built to withstand very strong winds here in Taiwan, which means they won't be affected by it or they won't be damaged. This ability to control your blood flow sounds crazy to me, but that's what they receive training to do. So in flight, Tim successfully fights his body's urge to black out. Sometimes I'll fight my body's urge to laugh when I'm not supposed to be laughing. Or sometimes you fight your body's urge to sneeze or cough or yawn. An urge is that very sudden, usually very strong feeling that you want to do something. I often have the urge to eat bad food.
Yeah, you talk about it all the time. Yeah.
I love fried food, but I have to withstand the urge. I have to fight against it. So they've actually taught these pilots' bodies to fight the urge to black out or to pass out. Blackout is the same as passing out. It's blackout because you can't see anything anymore because your eyes close.
And you don't know what happened to you. You might actually hallucinate. And I understand that some of these pilots actually black out and they actually think they've left their body. They think they're floating around outside the plane or something like that.
Crazy.
But in any case, yes, they have to fight the tendency of the body to want to black out because they're going to reach 7G before landing. So that's what Tim does here. Hopefully he succeeds. Okay, so that's enough for that episode. And we're going to talk about another episode in just a couple of seconds. But right now we're going to take a break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina. 在这一集节目的后半段呢，他要挑战的呢，就是对抗地心引力。我们常听到的 G-force 指的呢，就是 gravity force， 也就是重力、引力的意思。飞行的时候呢，在后面的文章提到，我们来看一下第一段的第3个句子。While the average person would pass out after experiencing 4 to 5G for just a few seconds, military pilots have to withstand 9G or more during flight. 在这里提到一般人的话呢，如果他只要经历到4到5G 的几秒后就会 pass out。Pass out 有昏倒跟失去知觉的意思。我们来用这个片语造个句子。在那场户外的摇滚音乐会当中，有50个人因为热而昏厥过去了。你就可以说 50 people passed out from heat at the outdoor rock concert. 而一般人只要体验4到5G 几秒钟就会昏厥。后面提到的 military pilots， 但是军事的飞行员呢，却要承受超过 9G 以上的 G 力。Withstand 则是有抵抗的意思。这些坚固的墙可以抵得住强风，你就可以说 The strong walls can withstand high winds. 第一段的最后一句 In flight, Tim successfully fights his body's urge to black out, reaching 7G before landing.我们的这个 Tim 呢，他很成功的在飞行当中呢，成功的击退他身体想要昏厥过去的这种强烈的冲动，在降落之前就达到了 7G 这样子的承受度。Urge 在这里当作名词，解释成为强烈的冲动或者是欲望。举个例子来说，假期快到了，我很想要外出旅行，你就可以说 The vacation is coming and I have an urge to travel. 所以呢，他也抗拒了自己这种快要 black out 昏厥过去的这种冲动，而达到了他的目标。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue with our lesson now. We're talking about Hard to Kill. Again, this is a program that's all about people who have dangerous jobs. Now, in another episode of this program, Hard to Kill, hosted by Tim Kennedy, Tim is in Alaska's Chugach Mountains. I've never been to Alaska myself. A couple of friends of mine drove up there one summer after high school in a pickup truck.
Sounds pretty.
But I've never been there myself. I'd certainly like to go there someday. But, it's pretty far away from the rest of the United States. And my goodness, I tried to figure out how to fly there. You can't actually fly there from Taiwan. You've got to actually go to Seattle first or something, and then you've got to go backwards. It's insane. But in any case, that's the way it works there. And Tim goes to Alaska, and he's in a mountain range there called the Chugach Mountains. And he's there to learn about the treacherous conditions faced by the area's bush pilots. Of course, a pilot is a person who flies a plane. And if you're in the bush, that means you're basically in the wilderness. You're in a wild area, and these pilots basically have to fly over forests and mountains and stuff like that. And they probably have to learn how to land the plane on open fields or in lakes and stuff like that because they probably don't have modern airports there.
True enough. They have to learn how to land on water, on ice, different things like that. Now, there's a guy named Mark Barker. He's a bush pilot. He's also a firefighter of more than 30 years. A lot of these guys who live in Alaska typically have a couple of jobs like that, It's very sparse. There aren't a lot of people in Alaska. So the folks that live there, they're pretty tough. They're hardy souls, meaning they're not easily intimidated. They're tough folks. So he takes Tim up in his helicopter. So he is not flying a plane this time. He's in a helicopter that has the blades that move around on the top, and it can go straight up, straight down. He explains to him about the conditions, what the air is, what the land is like, what they have to fly in when they work in Alaska. He explains to him about the conditions that these bush pilots have to deal with in the northern regions and why they do it. A lot of people that live in that area love Alaska.
Indeed, but it is an extreme place to live. During the winter, of course, you never see the sun. It's always dark. And then during the summer, it's always light. And, of course, it's real cold in the winter. And, of course, there are wild animals like bears and stuff who might try to hunt you down, wolves as well. But, hey, they love living dangerously. And that's why it's such a thrill to live in Alaska. So, again, Tim is up in this helicopter with Mark. And Mark's telling him all about the job there. How is it different to be flying a helicopter up here in the north and why we do it? Well, the people living and working in such isolated areas depend on these courageous individuals to bring them supplies and carry out rescue operations. So these are isolated areas, which means they're places that are very, very far away from other places. You could also be isolated in society if you've got some mental problems, or maybe you've had something bad happen to you. You might feel isolated from your fellow human beings. But in this particular case, we're talking about being physically isolated from the rest of the world. You are far away from the nearest 7-Eleven.
You sure are. And these folks depend on courageous individuals to bring them supplies and carry out rescue operations. So if you do live in Alaska, you love these bush pilots because they're willing to risk their lives to bring really important medical supplies, food that they need to survive on. And they also carry out rescue operations when people get trapped, perhaps on mountains or run up against bad weather. Who knows? But, Yeah, they're very courageous individuals who become bush pilots. Now, if you're courageous, you show a lot of courage. You're brave. You're not afraid of things normal people usually are afraid of. You might be afraid. I've heard that true courage is when you're afraid, but you still do what you need to do. So they're courageous. Now, from the sky, Tim realizes just how unforgiving the terrain can be. Terrain is a word we use to describe what the land is like. It could be rocky terrain or mountainous terrain, desert terrain. The state I grew up in is a desert, so we have a lot of desert terrain, very dry land, not a lot of trees and flowers. Well, this terrain is unforgiving, which means it's really tough. If you do something wrong, you're going to pay for it. So if you forget to bring water, you're going to, die of thirst. You have to prepare yourself and because the land's not going to help you. You have to really make sure you know what you're doing.
It's not going to be nice to you. If you make a mistake, like as you said, forget water or you get lost, you are a goner. You're going to die. The land's not going to say, oh, you poor thing, let me help you out. No, it's unforgiving. It won't give you a break. You're going to be in big trouble. Now, passing by jagged cliffs, snow-covered mountains, and half-frozen lakes, he learns it's nearly impossible to find a safe landing zone. So he's flying this helicopter past all these different features of the land. We've got jagged cliffs. A cliff can be pretty high. Usually it's next to the ocean. It could be next to a valley or something like that. It's just basically a high rock face where it drops off suddenly. There are cliffs along the east coast of Taiwan here. If they're jagged, that means the rock is not even. Some places are high, some are low. It's probably very difficult to climb on that.
Yeah.
They're jagged. You could have jagged mountains as well. Some of the mountains in the Himalayas are quite jagged, or I would say even some of the mountains here in Taiwan in the central mountain range are pretty jagged as well. There are also some features here, snow-covered mountains and lakes that are half frozen. So if you try to land on a lake that's only half frozen, it's pretty risky because the helicopter might break through the ice.
Oh, yeah. So if a helicopter fails or the helicopter has engine problems, it says here, bush pilots must act instantly. They can't really, take the time to consider what they'd like to do. You have to act immediately. They need to land, grab their emergency gear, and alert other pilots to their situation before hypothermia sets in. Wow. And that can happen in less than a minute in some cases. When you talk about gear, you're usually talking about equipment or tools that you need for a particular activity. For example, I keep all my camping gear together in a big box, or I keep all my fishing gear because I love to go fishing. Not really. I keep all my fishing gear out in the garage. So gear here is non-count, but it can be countable if you talk about the gears in an engine or on your bike. Those are gears that you shift. But here, where it means equipment, please don't put an S on it. Keep it non-count. And alert just means you let other people know what's going on. Here it's used as a verb, but it can also be a noun. For example, when we get heavy rain coming down or an earthquake strikes Taiwan, we get emergency alerts from the government on our cell phones. Those are kind of nice to get. But here it's actually a verb. It just means you are quick to let other people know what's going on, usually in a dangerous situation.
You have to tell other pilots about their situation, to let them know about it, and to also let them know that this is a dangerous situation. And this, of course, is in the winter there, so you could freeze to death. You got to watch out. And to see if Tim has what it takes to survive, Mark's going to put him to the test. So again, Tim is the host of the program, and Mark here is the pilot, and he wants to test Tim to see if he has what it takes, if he's able to survive in this difficult situation. He puts him to the test. He kind of tests him to see if he can survive.
So, will Tim complete Mark's worst-case scenario successfully? Your worst-case scenario is the worst situation you could probably imagine. So, we're going to wish Tim luck. Tune in to Discovery Channel's Hard to Kill this November to find out what happens. This sounds like a fun show to watch. Right now, we're going to listen to our very fun Chinese teacher.
接着看到第二段的第二个句子提到 He's there to learn about the treacherous conditions faced by the area's bush pilots. Tim 呢，这一集到了阿拉斯加，去那里做什么呢？他想要学习在那个地区荒野飞行员所面临的凶险环境。我们来看一下 treacherous 这个字呢，则是有危险的或者是变幻莫测的意思。第二段后面的句子提到The people living and working in such isolated areas depend on these courageous individuals to bring them supplies and carry out rescue operations. 其实这些居住在隔离地方的人呢，就是靠着这些 pilots 才能够得到补给品跟一些救援的行动。我们可以从 living 开始刮到 areas 来修饰 the people， 这些居住在这么偏远地区的人。Isolated 是从动词 isolate 变化而来， isolate 当作动词则是有隔离跟孤立的意思，所以这些人就是依靠这些勇敢的飞行员 courageous 在这里当作形容词很好记，就是勇气可嘉的意思。在第三段呢，提到了在天空中飞行可以看到这些地势是非常的可怕的。我们来看一下第三段的中间They need to land, grab their emergency gear, and alert other pilots to their situation before hypothermia sets in, which can happen in less than a minute in some cases. 这些呢，开着这些直升机的人呢，必须要找到一个着陆的地方，找不到的话，就必须立刻有不同的行动出现。这里描述的就是首先要 land 着陆，然后要 grab their emergency gear 抓住他们的紧急装备， gear 也就是有设备装备的意思。第三个动作还必须呢要通知呢其他的飞行员，让他们知道自己的情况。 alert 在这里则是有通知的意思。举个例子来说， She's alerted me for weekend duty，解释成为他已经通知我周末要上班了。其实 alert 这个字还可以解释成为使某人警觉的意思。The doctor alerted me to the danger of a heart attack， 解释成为医生提醒我，让我警觉到要注意心脏病发作的危险。所以在这里还要让其他的 pilots 可以得知呢这样的情况。 Before hypothermia， 体温开始过低的情形开始发生之前，要让其他飞行员知道自己的状况。所以 Tim 到底可不可以接受考验呢？只有收看11月的 Discovery 你就知道答案了。 OK， 以上就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
That is it for today, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And hey, tune into this program and maybe you might become interested in becoming a pilot in Alaska or test flying planes that do aerobatic tricks or something like that. Who knows? It might be the thing for you. I think your parents would probably think you're crazy, though. Stick to an easy career like being a government employee or something like that.
An accountant.
An accountant or whatever. But in any case, again, that's the end of our program. Thanks for joining us. And make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.